Welcome. Whoa, hang on a second. What the hell is going on here? I was going to say welcome to a Tuesday night evening blend, but Matthew has been usurped by a werewolf. Go
Go see
ahead.
werewolves, guys. Go see werewolves.
I've I've
It
I've
it
heard
looks like good stuff.
I've heard about it. I have another show I got turned on to tonight by a 3-star draw actually that I did not know was coming out, and I want to ask you if you knew it was coming out because I'm a little surprised that you haven't said anything, but I haven't heard anything about it, and
Wait,
I'll bring that up in a
okay.
minute. It's before we get into it, I'll bring it up so that way I don't want to forget. And so I even brought it up on my phone just to make sure that I have it saved so I didn't forget the name of it.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that here in just a second. And then we'll go over a few topics tonight, folks. Obviously, always glad for everybody tuning in, man. We'll hit up the chat here in just a moment. But I'm Pop Blender, and obviously joined by Matthew Matson, Mamu Nestor, Mammy's Action Figure Blog on Instagram. How you doing today, buddy? Doing all right?
It's another day. It's another week. It's been crazy. I had a really long weekend, throwing people around and stabbing them with swords and knives and stuff.
In real life too. That's the thing, right? Not even with toys. It's in real life. Y'all don't know that about Matthew, but he is a dangerous man. He is not, however, going after the healthcare industry because he is actually part of the healthcare industry, but the more holistic part of the healthcare industry.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would say.
No, going after insurance CEOs as much as they give
Ooh,
us trouble.
man.
But
I actually have a story to pull up later too about that. Not to get too much into that topic. I'm sure you've all seen the guy that assassinated or whatever you want to call it, the CEO of United Healthcare
yeah.
has been caught. Obviously, I'll pay
Well,
attention to that.
yeah.
Well,
You think so? Maybe.
yeah. Well, maybe he's the what we call trigger man. But
Well,
whew,
maybe
yeah.
he's nobody, and he was just somebody that they put a face on.
Hey man, there you go. Right. I wasn't gonna say it, but since you did, I'm glad you did. Yes. And that didn't break Saturday rather when I'd wanted to
Yeah.
do the stream, but nonetheless, yeah. So we all know about that. Not gonna get into that here. That's not what we do. But I do have an interesting article about review bombing, and if we have time, I'll bring it up later. Just something quick about review bombing and with this guy and what happened with him getting captured, so to speak. So I thought it
Yeah.
was really weird. But anyway, so as we usually do, getting right into it, man. Let's get into the chat, my friends. First in the door, Daredevil Dave. Get your popcorn ready. He's ready with the puns. It's about to pop off up in here. You know, when we were asking, or I was asking about, hey, names and what do we call this? I don't know, and it was kind of a tribute to Dan, Patrick, and Keith Olbermann is what
Right.
in my mind, but I probably thought more of it than anybody else did. And then of course it was like we got inundated with all the pop titles, right?
Yeah.
It was pop. What's popping? And some of them were actually pretty good, but it was like, man, I don't want to be that on the nose, right?
Well, but also somebody might think that it's a Funko Pop channel.
Oh well, I don't want that to happen. Although I do have my Fallout Pop
There it is.
Funko and my Cara Dune figure there, my Gina Carano. I had to go out. I rushed out and bought that actually because I thought it'd go up in value, and it probably isn't worth anything.
Yeah.
Menjoza is in the house. What's up? How you doing, my friend? Punk with Toy says came to hit the like button, and I appreciate that, Punk. And I know you're a busy man, so get back to it if you need to. I'm glad you stopping in though, for sure. Making those reviews though, and everything that you got going on. Also rescheduled Punk's Pit for the this upcoming Friday, which is the 13th,
Yeah.
14th,
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. So it'll be a Christmas themed horror members stream only on Punk's channel. Let's see. Here we go. Rolling down. 3-star draw. Probably also working on a review or video. He's been very busy here recently. Turk Murphy's Toy Solutions in the house, man. Always good to see
Nice.
Turk. Um, Let's see. Woody Triple Deuce. What's up? What's up with you, my friend? That's a busy dude. That's a
Yeah.
busy guy, and also a he is is amazing how many his delivery videos, man. His what this week brought. Man, they're crazy. Let's see. Didn't mean to highlight that, but hey, whatever. Wraith Mace is in the house. Wraith Mace
What's
actually has
up?
a new
New
video,
song.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been doing the AI video stuff um and making music, and obviously he's getting really good at it. And as he hones that craft and like does it even more and more, it's only going to get better and better. But he is a Warhammer fan through and
Yeah.
through,
Yeah.
for
It's
sure, man.
awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, it is. And still waiting on that Henry Cavill news, man. Still waiting to hear about some
Well, we just got
Warhammer
some.
40K. Did we?
Yeah.
I've
So
looked.
so
Give me a heads up here then.
yeah. So Cavill, they've come out and said that they finally agreed on a story that they can move forward with the
Okay.
Netflix series, and so they're moving forward to the next phase with Henry Cavill as being a cast member, but also an executive producer
I
with the whole
like
thing.
that.
So if he can keep the integrity of the property together better than Games Workshop can, I think we'll we'll be okay.
I agree with you there. For anybody that is a Warhammer 40K fan, yeah, Games Workshop is kind of uh, people that are fans of that property are people that have been fans of that property for a long time.
Long time. And in
And
the UK, it is one of the
uh,
biggest things there is.
right, and that explains someone like a Henry Cavill, who is a huge PC gamer. Dude is a
Yep.
super nerd,
Yep.
big PC gamer, loves gaming, and is super into that property as he was The Witcher as well. And he kind of really got screwed, right, with The Witcher,
Yep.
and
Well, he got screwed with
obviously,
Superman and The
man,
Witcher, and man, he's had a rough time of it because he gets
not
thrown into stuff and then he gets terrible scripts.
and not to go off on a Henry Cavill like uh tangent here, but you know what, like it's really kind of a shame because his prime years as an
Yep.
actor,
Yep.
right? Those 30s, right? You get in your 20s, but into your 30s, you're leading man material.
Yep.
And even for a lot of men in Hollywood, getting into your 40s, that is, you're still leading man. You've seen a George Clooney still play the love interest, right? You've seen guys that play that well in the early 50s, even, really.
Yep.
But eventually there comes a point in time where you are too old for these roles. And that was part of what James Gunn, when Henry Cavill got announced as Superman coming back, and then
Yep.
literally just a couple few days later, James Gunn takes over, and he's like, no, no, we're going a different direction than that. And so you had all these fans who were just super excited
Yep.
about that. And then all of a sudden it just, and he was so proud, right? Like he's loved. That's, I think, Henry Cavill especially, that something about him is that not only is he a fan, but
Hmm.
he enjoys like the source material.
Yep.
He enjoys the source material. He loves the books. He loves the original comics. He loves video games and stuff like that. And to have someone like that on our side, I
Yep.
guess, so to speak,
Well,
in Hollywood is a rare thing.
I would love to see Carl Urban and Henry Cavill get together to work on a project of passion for both of them because both of them are such uber nerds and they
Oh my
love this stuff
gosh.
so much. It would be wondrous to see if they had, creative control over something, what they would come up with.
And I agree with you. Action figure Addict 112 says Legend Series raid. So Legend Series must have been streaming, and he's maybe sending some people over. Here we go. Same time toys. Shane, I got your message. I'm a horrible Instagram friend, and I apologize to anyone out there for that. I've had a rough weekend, body, soul, and mind, I guess you could say. But that weekend is over, and it's a new week, and so I apologize, Shane, for not getting back to you. But I appreciate your message, man, and anybody that ever messaged me. I promise you, it is not on purpose. I feel terrible about that. But yeah, man, maybe we get a little Legend Series stream raid. I actually rated Punk's giveaway stream for a minute and had my audience on a Friday night jump in on the giveaway for just a moment. just for fun. I think it's goofy to do that sometimes, and it's kind of fun. I know some people don't appreciate that; they're not, But to me, it's like, yeah, man, it's all for fun, right? We're not. There's no copyright going on here. There's no striking going on here. It's all for fun. So I appreciate that. But yeah, Shane, same time toys, action figure addict coming in too. And so anyway, so I guess really, we can get into it, man. We've got a myriad of topics. Some big, I say big news. I guess the biggest one I put at the top. Um, the real Captain America returning to the MCU.
Well,
Chris
well,
Evans.
well. Chris Evans is coming back, but it's unlikely that he's going to be Cap.
Right. And is it a Johnny Storm situation? Is it a Robert Downey Jr. situation?
Right.
Is this okay? We're going to bring him back, but we're going to have him play a different character.
There's a high likelihood that he'll play Hydra Cap, but also equally as high that he's not going to be Cap at all.
I'm really curious the way that Disney and Marvel will go about this because, in one sense, I understand wanting to bring back when you get rid of two of your main characters that have led your movie franchise for 10 years.
Yep.
And made it the most successful. Really, truly, let's not kid ourselves, right? I'd say Lord of the Rings is probably the best movie trilogy ever made. I'd say Star Wars is right behind it. And this is coming from a uber Star Wars fan, but it's just facts are facts.
Yep.
Marvel and what they were able to do over the course of a decade is
Yep.
is unbelievable in the returns on the box office. Every movie practically being $1 billion dollar movie. And so when you get rid of Captain America and you get rid of Iron Man, right? Then what do you do? And I think this is interesting. Bringing Robert Downey Jr. back as Doctor Doom, is this really, are they going to do the comics? Is this really what they're going to do? Are they going to do the series where, Doctor Doom
switch brains with
yes.
Tony Stark?
Yes. And so we kind of got this news and just kind of to kind of scroll through it real quick, even before San Diego Comic-Con's surprise news that Robert Downey Jr. was back in the MCU. We heard rumblings that Marvel Studios was trying to bring back a few of its first Avengers for another team up. Now it might be one step closer. The Wrap reports, and listen, there's all kinds of mags out there, Matthew. You know that. But when this stuff gets out and gets into print, it's not BS, right? If it's on Twitter, Instagram, you see fake accounts. When you have actual mags reporting on this, someone's leaking this, someone's putting this out, right?
Yeah, I mean, you think so, but still, there's a lot of these these print publications that are publishing blatant mistruths too. So
that's true. That's true. It says Wrap reports that Chris Evans has joined the cast of Avengers: Doomsday. The outlet notes there's no solid details yet, which is always the crucial part, right? The solid details, the nature of his role.
Yeah.
However, it says potentially mean that Evans is not reprising his role as Steve Rogers. But like Downey is returning in another role through multiverse shenanigans. And that's kind of the part I wanted to really kind of bring up. I'm not a fan of the multiverse. I'm not a fan of the ability to just cover up your writing mistakes with multiverse shenanigans. But comics have done it for decades. I'm not saying they covered up writing mistakes, but comics, to keep the comic going, have been able to do this. It's just not something we've seen in movie form, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. We'll see what happens. But, you've got these characters coming back. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is a good actor. Chris Evans, I mean, he's better at being the dipstick in a rom-com, but
I mean, to me though, if I were Marvel and I was going to bring Chris Evans back, the way that they did it in the Deadpool Wolverine movie, right?
Yeah.
Did the fake out,
Yep.
Yeah, did the fake out, right? And you know, had fun with that as Johnny Storm, and that was, you know, really fun. The after credit scene or whatever at the end, you know, that was
Yeah.
actually pretty fun too.
Right.
But to be quite honest with you, man, you know, Phase 4 was brutal, and it would make sense to bring these guys back. Now they are much older, especially Robert Downey Jr. to bring them back. But to me, man, I would bring them back in those same roles. I don't know what it would do to kind of tease fans to bring them back in a different role, just to say, hey, we got Chris Evans again. I just don't know what that does to
Yeah.
build up, you know, excitement. I don't think you'll ever get that same excitement that Avengers, right, and then
Right.
Ultron, and then, you know, obviously Infinity War and Endgame got. But I don't know, man. Like, bring him back for what? You know, bring him back for what? And you're going to give him a lot of money. Chris Evans is going to take a lot of money. Um, I just don't
Yeah.
see where this makes a lot of sense unless you were going to bring him back as Cap or put him back in that role through multiverse shenanigans, like I said.
Yeah. Like I said, there's a high likelihood that he's going to come back as Hydra Cap and get beat up by Falcon Cap, and then maybe join forces with Falcon Cap to stop the bigger threat.
There's speculation, and I've seen it. Nerdrotic talked about it. You know, he firmly believes that Sam Wilson is talking to Cap in one of the scenes,
Yeah.
you know, off camera scenes in the new
Yep.
Captain America: Brave New World that's coming out. That may or may not be the case. I mean, you know, I mean, he would know or hear more about it than I would. That's for sure. But at the same time, it's, you know, pure speculation. Action
Yep.
Figure Addict 112 says, speaking of Marvel, Marvel has received a W, which is a good thing, with Marvel Rivals. Fun game, no BS, highly recommended. I actually have heard that that's a fun game too, and they
Nice.
went back to the costumes and like that original, you know, harken back to that. And I've heard that actually is a really really good game, fun
Yeah.
game to see. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, you know, when articles like this come out, it gets everybody a buzz. Um, is it the best thing for them to do? Probably, if
Yeah.
you do it right. If you don't do it right, then it's going to come off like a wet fart. That's just the
Yeah.
way I look at it, right? Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's I don't know about you, man, but nothing beats. I was taking my son to go see every Marvel movie that was coming out in 2017, 18, 19, 16. You know what I mean? Like every one of them
Yeah.
practically that was coming out, it was like, we got to go.
Yep.
And
I
that's,
mean, it was an event, right?
it
It
was an
was an
event.
event, and you didn't want to miss out on it, and so everybody wanted to participate in it, and everybody was devouring it because it was cohesive. It was, separate but connected, and
Right.
they really had most of it planned out.
I mean, to pour that amount of time and to connect it all, and it actually worked. I
Yeah.
think that's the hard part, right? To make it
Yeah.
all work. And they made it work. Real quick, wanted to say hey to Bobby Wold dropping in too. He said they can bring back whoever they want, but without a good story, won't change a thing. Best of let it rest for a couple years and then just reboot it. I think a lot of people feel that way about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Just let it just go away. You make people miss something when it
Yep.
goes away, right?
Yeah.
And um, when you continually put out content that doesn't live up to the standards, and that's what Marvel's done, that's what Star Wars has done, then people don't miss it anymore. They become apathetic.
Right.
They get to where they don't care, right? And when people don't care about something, you see it with sports teams even. When a team is bad for 15 years, we see it down here in Tennessee, the Titans, they're terrible. Um, when people are apathetic, that's a dangerous thing. When people
Yeah.
are angry, that's a good thing because they care.
Right.
When they're apathetic, they don't care, and that means they won't spend money either way. They won't take the tickets for nothing. Can't even give them away. Really quickly before I forget, 3-star draw turned me on to this show, and I want to ask you, Matthew, if you heard about this, and if any of y'all have heard about this out there in the chat. Secret Level on Amazon. Have you heard about this show, Matthew?
No.
This is I have not heard a word. Secret Level basically is an anthology series on Amazon Prime. Think of What is it on Netflix? The robot. What is it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Um,
about?
yeah.
It's short stories. Okay, so Three Star turned me on to this tonight, and I'm shocked that I know. But this is a anthology series, and they take different video games and they have short stories that take place within these video games. And it's
Hmm.
not the main character. It could be an NPC. It could be a off character. It could be something like that. Love, Death, and Robots. Action Figure Addict
Yep.
112. Nailed it. I love that freaking series. Love it. Secret Level is maybe not like that because I have not seen it.
Hmm.
But you know, my problem here's my worry is when I see this over here, 64%.
Hmm.
And I wonder because usually your fan score, usually something like this, it's kind of underground, it really hits.
Yeah.
But a reason I wanted to bring it up, I didn't want to forget about it. But
Yeah.
I love video games. I'm sure
Yeah.
many of y'all do out there. And so for me, like this is in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, obviously, here I'm guessing maybe a little Warhammer 40K. There's I mean, pretty cool little website. We get a
Oop,
lot of
we
sound
got
here.
sound too. Yeah.
A little bit. Okay, that's enough. Anyway, but I mean, I think all of these video games,
Hmm.
including Warhammer 40K. So it's got little short stories within these different video games. Mega
Yeah.
Man, uh,
Nice.
Honor of Kings, Crossfire. You've got Dungeons and Dragons, Spelunky, New World Eternum. I know that. That's an Amazon product. That's why it's in here. Unreal Tournament, and obviously Pac-Man, which is
Nice.
pretty wild, actually, man.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I really, after we get done, I'm gonna watch Skeleton Crew, which I know not a lot of people are watching. But I'm
It's
gonna
all
go
right.
and check this out, man. I'm gonna let you know next
Yeah. Yeah.
week what I think about this anthology. Love, Death, and Robots. Did you watch that? Did you get into that at all? It's 2 seasons, I believe.
Yeah, I watched some of it, and some of it was interesting, but some of it just went nutso. So
Really,
I
I
that's it's the
I
way I
loved
kind of
it.
felt about it. But it's
I
been a while
ab
since I've seen it.
I absolutely dug Love, Death, and Robots. I thought there was some amazing storytelling. There were a couple episodes here or there that kind of missed the mark for me, but I think
Yeah,
overall, I love that kind of stuff. I love that kind of short storytelling with animation. I'm a huge animation fan,
yeah,
and so yeah, I'm all about that. Yeah, Mendoza evidently it is video game stories. So I'll check it out,
nice.
and then next Tuesday I'll let you know as we start to kind of build up for Crimbus. We
Yeah,
start to build
yeah,
up for Crimbus. We got to get our list together and start getting into our top this and that movies and box office review. Um, yeah, I agree with that, Menjoza. Yeah, some of them were definitely weird, weird, weird.
weird, weird,
Um,
weird.
weird, weird, weird. Speaking of weird, weird, and
What's up,
not weird, weird
legislators?
lunchbox. I didn't mean it to come out that way. Speaking of weird, lunchbox. No. So has anybody out there seen the Y2K movie? Yeah, you're right, Punk. I just don't think if he doesn't know about it, he's probably not interested in it, right? He's probably like, yeah, whatever. I don't know what the
Well,
hell that
honestly,
is.
that would be one that I would kind of be interested in. I am kind of interested in, and there's been like zero marketing on it. I've not heard anyone talk
I
about it.
haven't either. That's the thing. So that's why I wonder,
Yeah,
how good is this?
yeah,
Three Star said he's watched the first four. Really good, about 15, 20 minutes. That's about right for an anthology kind of thing,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
15 minutes, 8 minutes, 7 minutes. So I'll check it out. I don't know.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
I love some video games, my friend. So I am all about at least checking some out. Even those documentaries about the Donkey Kong guy. You
Yeah.
ever see that? The Donkey
Oh,
Kong
King
dude?
of Kong.
King of Kong. Oh my
That
God, what a
guy was
fruitcake.
such a yeah, man. That guy was such a piece of work,
You're
man.
right.
Especially when you get into like the actual history of that guy and the
Yes.
nonsense that he's pulled, and man, he just ran the whole classic video game thing for a loop.
And something I didn't even know within that community or whatever is like the emulated and like how
Mm-hmm.
people play the games and what actually constitutes a real version versus
Yep.
the fake version and all that stuff. And I understand that,
Yeah.
but I would just assume that if you were going for records, everybody would be on the same plane. You'd be playing the same version across the board, right? It's
Yeah.
just weird to me. So let's see here. The lovely Rachel Zegler. Now,
Man.
many of y'all might know her from the upcoming Snow White movie. Uh, which I'm sure many of you are just excited to go see, right? This girl has just made an absolute ass out of herself in the
Every
last
time she
few
opens
months.
up her mouth, she's stepping in a big pile of something and making somebody mad.
When the original press came out for Snow White, and she was doing with Gal Gadot, some press junket or red carpet kind of stuff. She was talking about how Snow White is a female empowerment and she doesn't need any prince, and that it's like it's so old, and that's where the weird because she's talking about the fact that the original
The,
story, which Walt Disney banked everything on, it would have either
yep.
sunk Disney or it would have made Disney, and of course it made Disney.
Yep.
And she talked about how weird it was of a story that she was in search of true love and that she wanted to have a relationship, with the prince. And of course, takes a bite out of the apple and he kisses her, wakes her up, true love. A story a
She
lot of
calls
us.
it a story.
What was it? A what?
She called it a stalker story.
Yeah, a stalker story. Weird. Yeah, a stalker story. A story that many of us grew up
Yeah.
watching, seeing, relating to. Like it's you think about those early Disney things too. They're all stuff you can relate to.
Yeah.
You feel like the ugly person, and then somehow you're able to go to the ball like Cinderella, and you
Right.
feel like $1,000,000, right?
Yep.
And you meet someone, and you dream of that kind of stuff. I mean, guy, girl, whatever, it doesn't matter. And Snow White, kind of the same way, right? You find true love. They're good parables, they're good stories, right? It's written well. But in her eyes, it's weird. It's
Yep.
weird. Well, she's in a new movie, and the Y2K movie. Now, you and I definitely remember Y2K, and I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody here in the chat remembers Y2K. Let me ask you this real quick before we get into this. What is probably your biggest memory of Y2K? Like biggest fear or biggest like what were you so either concerned about or been told that you needed to be concerned about with Y2K?
I mean, for a second, I was worried about air traffic control problems.
Yes, I remember that.
The build up, the pile up, or airplanes crashing or something like that.
Airplanes falling out of the sky, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
but honestly, I knew enough about what was going on that I really didn't have much fear about it.
I mean, it was one of those things building up where it was. Yeah, there was a lot of information out there, and I would say now you'd call it fake news. Back then,
Right.
you just called it, fear, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't know, and but I definitely remember that the air traffic controller planes falling out of the sky. They're gonna roll over, and it's gonna be a bunch of zeros, and nobody knows what's gonna happen. Well, so they made a movie, Y2K, and it's basically kind of a slasher horror comedy movie. And it's definitely not doing well. I think it did about $5 million.
Yeah. It's nobody's going to see it.
Yeah, nobody's seen
nobody knew that it was coming out, and unless they went to go see a more recent movie, they wouldn't even know that this movie was coming out.
Yes.
And I saw a preview for it. I said, "Oh, that looks funny."
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but the thing is, I think there's a lot of people, and folks, like, here's the deal, man. Like, a lot more people are being turned on to like this pop culture, this Hollywood, this thing that you and I have been paying attention to for a while. You and I are invested in. We watch a lot of people, and we've been talking about it for a little while, right?
Yeah.
A lot more people are being tuned into this. They're finding out. They're finding out about these actors and actresses. They're finding out about these celebrities who are opening their mouths and they're saying a bunch of shit that people don't relate to.
Yeah.
And this is one of those actresses. 100%. Rachel Zegler. And it wouldn't surprise me if there are a large number of people that are like, yeah, I have no interest. I might have gone to seen this,
Yeah.
right? But I have no interest in seeing this because this person is in it. And I think that spells really, bad things for Snow White, as big a property as that is.
Well, I mean, let's look at her history of events. I mean,
Okay.
you can go back to Greece, flop. Y2K, flop. I think there was another one that she did.
Well, she had the, it was the, oh shit. It was the prequel for the Catching Fire. Prequel for the,
the Hunger
Jennifer
Games.
Lawrence,
Yeah,
Hunger Games, prequel for the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Which on a small budget did okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was probably the most successful out of all the movies that she's been in, and that was like her first kind of big thing too. All the other ones, she's been out there talking about it, and when she talks about it, people don't want to see it, and so they tune out, and the ratings bomb, and so she is toxic box office right there. So every studio is going to turn their back on her.
Man, I'm going to tell you, this might be a case where it snowballs to the effect where people really do bow out. Yep. And sometimes an actor gets a certain name and a reputation.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yes. And a great actor, right? Like a great actor. But his behavior really followed him, and people were like, you know what? I'm
not
out.
Gonna touch it.
I'm out.
I mean, it hurt Ben Affleck's career for a long time as well. He didn't have the best reputation behind the scenes.
Yes. I agree. I think that definitely affected him. I really do though. The Snow White film coming out, coming up soon. If you'd have told me that a real, remake, and I'm not a big fan of these Disney remakes. Okay, The Lion King one was awful. But even with Jon Favreau at the helm, right? It's these remakes have not been good. But if someone would have told me a Snow White remake, live action, would not be trending well, that the dislike to like ratio would be like 6-1 on a YouTube trailer, right? On YouTube. I just wouldn't have believed that because it's such a popular IP. That's how bad this person has turned off.
I think Disney's in a tight spot right now. I think that they have to put this out because if they don't, I think that it will go to public domain. And other people will be able to tell the story. So I think that's why they're doing some of these things. Yes.
To give you guys an idea, so really a lot of this really did start with the promotion of this movie. It says, her status as the lead role in Snow White. It says she proceeded to crush that goodwill with baffling statements that riled up audiences. First, she slammed the Snow White source material, which is always a bad idea, calling it weird and suggesting the new version would fix what was wrong with the movie that jump-started the Disney empire. That's never a good thing to say.
She says the basis for Disney at all is weird and problematic. She's working for Disney, and she says the basis for everything Disney has built was weird and problematic.
Yeah, it's like this is the star of this movie, this brand, right? And
no concept of history, no concept of anything.
And I think you see that out of a lot the younger actors and actresses right now in Hollywood. Yeah. They just don't have any concept for what came before them.
Yeah.
And I think, always there was an homage, right? The actors, actresses that come up paid homage. And right now we're seeing that lack of respect. And I, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I've thought it's a wonderful place since the 30s, but my point is that most industries, people that are coming up, especially in entertainment, they pay respect to those who paved the way for them.
Yeah.
And yet a lot of these younger actors and actresses don't have that at all. Right. And then it says more recently, she savaged Donald Trump's voters, hoping they would never know peace. in an Instagram video following his election victory. Those comments went viral, and
Mhm.
obviously that's a larger group than what previously had been thought. Then she kind of apologized, which was a fake apology,
It's
which
fake
we all
apology.
see.
Yeah,
That's
that was the
absolutely,
Disney written apology that she.
absolutely.
Yeah, no.
That was a PR person. And so moving forward, man. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, the outrageous budget that they mention actually
Yeah,
here. You're talking. It says that $240 million budget before marketing. You're probably talking upwards of $400 million or
yeah,
more when it's all said and done. Woody Triple Deuce, the figure addict, says if this girl gets any more Hollywood jabs, they need to make her sign basically a gag order with her,
yeah.
so she can't
Well,
open her mouth. That would not be a bad idea.
they may go back and reinstitute the old Hollywood system with some of these people, and I think they probably need to
Yes.
bring back the mystique of a Hollywood actor, of a celebrity, and put the shackles on them in terms of media control, so that they don't do say or get out in public for any reason unless it's been approved, especially when they're on the junket.
I
Um,
think the biggest thing is just if you're gonna. I think sometimes also, Matthew, it's up to the interviewer. These interviewers and these reporters, they ask them leading questions. It's like the guy
yep,
that was walking the red carpet going, "Is this the gayest Marvel show ever?" And I think it's
yeah,
such a leading thing that they're trying to pull them into this thing.
yeah,
And I think really it's just we want to hear them talk about their role,
yep,
the movie, their character, what did they
right,
go through? We don't want to hear about anything else. We
yep,
don't want to hear about how the original Snow White story was problematic. That's such a
yep.
that word.
And what we don't want is our entertainment getting intertwined with real life, because it's our entertainment, it's our escapism, it's
Yes.
our way away from the nonsense that we know is going on, but we just want to break from it for a minute. And while it's bad to get lost in that, it's still how we cope with the things that are going on around us. We know that stuff is happening all over the place that can directly affect us or others or
Yes.
all that stuff, and that stresses us out. So that's why we go to entertainment, to get away from it. To have it shoved down our throat in the entertainment kind of ruins the purpose.
I mean, it's so true though. And when you can't separate those two, that's when everything becomes political,
Yep.
right? And that's a big thing, for you and I know, especially. It's like, no, there escapism is important.
Yeah.
I think, look, I think it's important in all kinds of relationships. If that's our relationship to movies, television, right, to pop culture, in marriages, you need to be able to have your time,
Yeah.
your time to get away, to be alone with your thoughts, do what you like to do. It's all kind of relative to me in that fashion, and even with like pop culture, there you have a separation. You need to be able to escape and enjoy yourself.
Yep.
Whether that's turning your brain off or it making you think, but you need to be able to separate real world from fictional world.
Yep.
And it's okay when things make you think and they bring attention to stuff. But I think lately, as we've seen the last several years, that's been the norm rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
And we've just gotten bombarded with it. I saw you had a comment starred there. Do you
I
want to bring that up?
had a couple of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I wanted to touch back. Well, anyway, I mean, Rachel in her Y2K comments, she couldn't define what Y2K was. She
Oh,
said, "Oh, it's like a frame of mind. It's like a fashion thing. It's like, oh, that's so Y2K." She went through all this nonsense. Like, no, no,
was
girl,
she
that's not.
alive? Was she
No,
even
I
alive?
I
I
don't think
don't think
so.
so. Yeah. It'd be hard to define if you weren't alive unless you actually did your research. And I'm
Yeah.
sure she doesn't.
Now, where's that started comment?
I've got one from Action Figure right here. If you wanna
Yeah, yeah,
talk about that one, I can't
yeah.
wait to see this movie.
I cannot wait to see that movie. There's two movies three movies right now that I'm really super excited about, and a handful of others, and they're all coming out this month. So it's going to be a rough month on the pocketbook for going to see movies.
Yeah.
Nosferatu is one of them. I've heard nothing but incredible things about this movie.
Same.
It's the third remake, and it looks to be probably one of the best vampire movies that's been made since Bram Stoker's Dracula, or whatever's your favorite one. I think this one's going to be one of these clinchers that's going to be awesome. I desperate to see Werewolves. I really want to see that one. Frank Grillo is in that one, and then the other one, the Bob Dylan
Biopic.
biopic with
Okay.
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
That's coming out. Man, that kid has got a bright future. He could be a true Hollywood celebrity actor. Because he is transformative in most of his roles that he's been put in so far, and he's only been in a handful of things. And I'm like, he's amazing.
And
At
you
what he's
haven't
doing.
heard from him in a
Right.
way, right? You don't hear the
Yep.
usual stuff. He's just, I'm gonna act, I'm gonna select my roles, and I'm
Yep.
gonna dedicate to the craft, and that's it.
Yep.
That's
And
literally it.
and I love it. But the Bob Dylan one is a complete unknown, is what it's called, and based off the song. And while I'm not necessarily a big fan of Bob Dylan singing songs, some of them I think were great, but his writing that he wrote in songs, and when other people did their versions of them, the writing on his songs was incredible. And so I really want to see this biopic on him too.
Yeah, it does it does look interesting. I've definitely seen previews for it, having, seen a couple movies recently. They've definitely played it up. It's not under the radar, that's for sure. They're wanting it to be out there, and they're
Well, I
wanting
mean,
people
it's
to
an
see
Oscar
this.
pick, right? They
It
want
is.
this one up for Oscars,
Yep, it
and
is.
I'm all
But
for it. Let's bring it.
sometimes those Oscar picks go under the radar though,
Well,
right?
they do, but they got to get ready for Oscar season, so they got to let everybody know, hey, this is going to be one of these Oscar movies. So
Right.
let's pay attention to that one.
And real quick before we get to Clint Jorgensen's starred comment, Joseph says, I thought the Jungle Book live action was pretty good, but I'm a huge fan of the Jungle Book, or a huge Jungle Book fan. Yeah, no, I almost feel like that one came along at maybe the right time, or maybe a time, where
Yeah.
we weren't inundated with these remakes, if
Well,
that makes sense.
I found a remake today that I didn't think was even a thing. I was baffled by it. We were flipping through Christmas movies and stuff. They've already remade Elf in an animated format, and it's a little
Really?
bit shorter, and it's got what's his name from the Big Bang Theory, the big nerd guy.
Parsons, Jim
Yes,
Parsons.
Jim
Okay.
Parsons
Really?
plays Buddy,
Huh.
and it's called Elf the Buddy story or something like that. But it's all animated, and it looks like an exact shortened version of the movie.
I had
And
no
so
idea.
they redepicted some of the characters and stuff, and I'm like, what in the world? Why in the world is this?
I
And it was
mean,
like, we were just baffled by it.
yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, really, no idea. Although, again, I love animation, so I'm definitely not beyond actually
Yeah.
checking it out. Now, I will tell you, I do like the Will Ferrell Elf movie, but I am not a super fan of that movie. I'm not
So
just like, oh my God, I gotta see it. It's on TNT. I gotta leave it on.
yeah,
I'm
no,
just not, but I
nope.
enjoyed it when it came out. Bought the DVD rather.
I will tell you, we just watched this movie last night or whatever. I really like the last 20 minutes of that movie.
Okay.
The rest of it is hit or miss for me, and it really, I mean, some of the stuff in there really kind of bugs me because it's gross out humor, and so much
Yeah.
so that Will Ferrell actually vomited after every take from some of
Really?
those things. Yes.
I don't
So
even know the history. Maybe I need to look that up.
when he does the spaghetti with the syrup and the mushroom or the marshmallows and all that on there,
Oh
and
yeah.
he was actually eating it, he actually vomited after every single take.
I probably feel like I would have as well.
No kidding.
I can't. I couldn't.
But
That's
him
disgusting.
picking gum off and eating the gum off the stuff, and that whole syrup spaghetti
Yeah.
mesh thing. That I'm like, why? I mean, I get it.
Ooh.
Elves eat sweet stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
I say movie props.
Yeah.
No, if that was real, then yeah,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't
No,
have been able
well,
to stomach that either. That's
yeah.
disgusting.
It is disgusting.
Um,
Kind of confused about Disney went forward with the Mufasa story. So am I, because they are butchering the history of the Lion King making this movie, because it's not what the history was, and they're gonna show you he was the orphan outsider, and Scar was actually the one that was supposed to be there, and blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
and that's why Scar's bitter,
We
and
don't we
so
don't need
Scar
we
is
don't need all that.
justified.
We
Scar is
don't need all that.
justified.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I just don't think we don't need all that. Like I just don't. The leave it for what it is, but when you start sometimes less is more, right? And when you start to try to fill in all the blanks and explain every single
Yeah,
thing in detail, I just don't think we need that. Yeah, Action Figure says Lilo and Stitch, look what they're doing. Yeah, that not crazy about that.
I don't get it.
And also don't touch Wally. I'm with you there. And then Joseph says, has anyone heard anything about the return? I have not actually. The return. Um, I'm gonna have to look that up. I apologize for not hearing about it, but I definitely need to look it up. Legend Series says unpopular opinion. I liked him as Wonka. You talking about?
No, that I agree with you. I didn't mind that Wonka story either.
Right.
It was. I don't know. It's kind of maybe one of those possibly unnecessary things, but at the same time, I enjoyed it, and I thought it would flow right into Gene Wilder's version.
Right.
I thought those two married fairly well. There were some discrepancies, but fairly well did it kind of flow into that.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things like I'm just such a fan of that original, but I think that
Oh yeah,
also somewhat just stems from childhood nostalgia, right?
and I mean, I'll probably be out here on my own on this one. I didn't mind the Johnny Depp one either. I mean, he played that creepy character pretty well, but
But everybody compared it to Michael Jackson. You remember that at the time?
yeah,
It was
oh yeah,
like, oh, he's playing Michael Jackson as Willy Wonka. And I thought, man, that shit is weird.
yeah. I mean, it was definitely weird. It was definitely weird,
Weird,
but
weird.
yeah, exactly. But there's still some kind of weird charm to it, and
I do
I don't know.
agree with you. I do agree. And Depp Roy, right?
Deep Roy,
Deep Roy,
yeah,
as he obviously they didn't get different actors, right?
yeah.
For that role, but
Well,
I thought it was I liked the different musical numbers
yeah.
in that Wonka. I actually did. I thought it was all right. I still like the original, period. But yeah, 3 star says fuck that Wonka movie. That shit was terrible. Look, I get it, man. I
No,
do. I
I
thought it was
understand.
okay, but I can fully understand. Legend series actually like that one. That one okay.
Yeah, and he was agreed with me about what I was saying about the Timothy Chalamet Wonka
Yeah,
one.
yep. I agree.
Yeah,
Man, strong opinion, man. We bring up that Willy Wonka, the Johnny Depp, man. Strong, yeah, strong opinions. Holy shit!
bring it, man, bring it. I
I
love it.
had no idea.
I love the discussion, and I don't want to tell anybody that they're wrong for their opinion because it's their opinion.
No,
But sometimes
nope.
factually people are wrong, and I'll call you out on it when it is.
And I
Just kidding.
agree. I agree with you. I'm like, no, I would never tell anybody, and then I'll turn around on a Friday night and be like, "You're fucking stupid for like, like what the hell's wrong with you?" Oh, that's the fun of it, though, right? I mean,
Yeah,
listen.
Gene Wilder was the best at just about everything that he did. He
Oh,
was
100%,
amazing,
100%,
amazing.
right? And 3 star Josh says Storm Shadow is a cobra.
Okay, no, no, never was. Not once was he. He wore the Cobra emblem one time, but that's it. He wasn't a Cobra.
Oh my God, I love it. It's on the damn figure. It's on the damn figure, Matthew.
He's got the patch on there because he's a spy. He was infiltrating Cobra to find out who killed his uncle.
Ah, see, I
He
disagree.
wasn't really a Cobra. He
Yes,
never
Cobra
was.
Commander. I will follow you, Cobra Commander.
Yeah, but explain his fight with Spirit, right? I mean, that shouldn't have happened. If he was a true
I
Cobra,
know, and I
that
do
wouldn't
love
have
that. I do love that.
happened.
I love that episode, though, right? That's great. Golly, man.
Also, the cartoon is not canon; it's only the comic book.
I know, but it makes me want to go back and watch them all. I love
Oh,
pulling
I
up
do too.
that
I love it. I love
I
it.
love pulling up that channel that plays them like
All
24/7.
live.
The
Yeah,
problem
so do
is
I.
they'll play like the same ones though. Does anybody else have that
They
problem when
do.
you bring up the GI
Yep.
Joe channel on YouTube and like they just play the same
Yeah.
episodes over and over like
If you
every
if you
5 or 6 episodes?
if you watch the live one, yeah, that's it. But you can also go back and see some of the other episodes. But also Tubi has it. Tubi's got.
Yeah.
I think I think Tubi is missing the Revenge of Cobra, but they have everything else on
Oh,
there.
that's a shame.
I can't figure out why they didn't put that one up there because they've got the Mass Device one,
It's
and
my
then
favorite Mass Device.
and then
sure.
in the second part they have the miniseries before the series began, and then the series, but they don't have the Revenge of Cobra, which was the second miniseries.
Yeah, that's
So
interesting. Dude, I could watch that stuff on loop. I could watch it
yeah,
on loop.
absolutely.
The music alone, and I know every single person in this chat will agree with me. The music alone in the GI Joe cartoon series, uh,
So iconic.
phenomenal
Yeah,
music, like
absolutely.
really just unbelievable music. And I could listen to it on a soundtrack like I used to pop in the Star Wars discs, and I would listen to the
Well,
entire
did you
movie,
get the
the
record?
soundtrack. I did not get the
Ah,
record. I should, and
I,
I got a record player here, although it's for my
I
son, but we can't find where to put it in his room.
I got the record, man. The record's awesome.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm telling you, man. I just that music just gets me. It really
Mhm.
does. Like I listen to it, and it's just like, holy shit! Like,
Yep.
so good for a cartoon series, right? A children's cartoon series.
Yep.
The composers, who composed that.
Well,
I even
and
got
actually,
copyright claimed on a video that I did. My
yeah.
review of Nemesis
Oh,
Immortal.
there
I
you go.
got copyrighted
Nice.
because I played
Great.
Fight or Flight in the background.
If you actually pay attention to the writing in that show, that writing is actually pretty darn smart for what they put in there.
Absolutely.
They
Yes.
put a lot of very interesting topics,
There's
concepts in there.
relationship stuff
Yep.
in there too. There's
Yep.
tension between relationships. You see Scarlett getting jealous because Duke's riding in a helicopter with Lady J or Flint, and like
Yeah.
Baroness Destro. That's classic stuff, man.
Yep.
That's great stuff. Like it's yeah, sophisticated in a way
Yeah.
and of course the people writing it probably were trying to sneak everything they could by the censors at that time.
Well, yeah, and they did quite a bit, and some of us didn't catch on until much later in life.
No. Obviously, when you're 8 years old, 7, 8, 9 years old, whatever
But
it
if
is.
you compare it to everything else that was coming out at the time, it had much more sophisticated writing.
I agree. And really quickly before we move on to George R. Martin and whether or not he'll ever finish his damn book, the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon I always loved.
Oh
I
yeah.
was a big fan of the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. Loved it.
Did you watch
Loved
the
it. Loved
final
it.
episode?
I did. I actually
The
did go and look
the
it up on
yeah,
YouTube and watched
it's
it.
really good.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
love it.
Yep, I did, and I would encourage anybody to do that. Yeah, same time toys, Sunbow Animation. I agree. I mean, look, it was the best. It wasn't always the best, so let's not kid ourselves because there's a
No.
lot of color, things. There's weird shit
Well,
going on in some of those
there's
episodes.
match frames and all kinds of stuff,
There's a lot. So, but when you're trying
but
to pump out that many episodes,
it was far better than 90s Deke.
agreed,
90s Deke
hundred
animation
percent.
was terrible. 80s Deke animation wasn't half bad. They did a
I
lot of
agree.
good stuff
I
in the
agree there
80s.
too. Yes, but '90s, you're
Oh
correct,
yeah.
and the voice acting not so great as well. Especially I mean, and it's such a shame after the GI Joe movie and when Deke took over. A lot of that animation got outsourced to people that evidently were not very qualified, and then the voice
Well,
acting and
yeah, so they had. I
was
mean,
rough.
Sunbow was really outsourced animation, but then they outsourced to Korea
Yes.
for the Deke stuff, and that was much lower budget. They're paying a
Yep.
lot less for it, and
Yep.
well, that's what you get.
Man, that's what you get, and we got it all right, and a lot of us tuned out. Right, like that, and for a lot of us, maybe that was time we started aging out. Right, and it happens. It
Yeah,
is what it is. Yeah, and '89 Joe was for 4-year-olds. I don't even know, man. Some of that
got to
stuff, I
get
don't even know
tough,
who it's
yo,
for.
Joe.
Oh God! Don't ever do that again. Uh, so finish the damn book, George. George R. Martin, 13 years writing the Winds of Winter for Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Obviously, the series got turned over to Dan and Dave. for HBO, and they kind of had to take what George gave them and craft an end of a show that was monumental, one of the best shows ever made. But really, it's up to George, right? If George wants to set the record straight, if George wants to finish this, if he wants to put it where he wants it, he could finish this in the books. And he has just chosen to do every other project other than finish this damn series.
Yep. I don't. It's not a matter of I don't think he can. I don't think he will.
I agree.
Because of the socio-political stuff that he's been put through, and so he doesn't want to piss off those people again by doing what he originally intended to do. And I think that the end of the TV show, like it or not, was probably 90% of what he was planning on doing, but we would have gotten a lot more context on how we got there. There are so many other characters that aren't in the TV show that would have been included in the books that could have helped mold and shape the story to go in that direction.
Right.
But yeah.
I mean, you've got, new, obviously, House of the Dragon, successful. So
far, so good.
I have enjoyed it, right? So far, so good. I've got Hedge Knight coming out here. Dunkin' Egg's going to be, we'll see. I mean, I don't know how far you can stretch some of these things before people start to get a little out of the wheelhouse, right?
Yeah.
But basically says
the Dunkin' Egg stories are really good, and they can be told, as a separate thing, and people could just jump into that, not have context of anything else, and have a good story.
That's true.
Go through those.
I agree with you. I think, just self-contained, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to Wins a Winner, though, he says, unfortunately, I'm 13 years late. Every time I say that, I'm like, how could I be 13 years late? Well, I know how that happens because every day turns into a week, every week turns into a month, every month turns into a year, and every year turns into a decade.
He got distracted by the con girls.
Yeah, man. Whew, I would too, actually. Do they have booth girls anymore? I don't know. Anyway, he says, I don't know. It happens a day at a time. He says, but that's still a priority. And I think that's where he's kind of tricking himself and also just giving something to whoever's asking the question. He says, a lot of people are already writing obituaries for me.
Well,
he'll never finish.
Shade on Gary Beekler.
Yeah. Well, he didn't.
The only person who
didn't shake his hand
in a meet and greet at a studio premiere event.
Ain't that a bitch? That's personal. He says, he'll never be finished. Maybe they're right. I don't know. I'm alive right now. I seem pretty vital. I don't know about that.
He's not in good health.
And 3 stars says he's swimming in all that money like Scrooge McDuck. The problem is with George, he's got too many irons in the fire. Instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to take a year. I'm going to go to a cabin. I'm going to knock this shit out like Misery.
And he had that opportunity in 2020.
Yes, 100%. No. And actually, that's the problem that a lot of people have. You're absolutely right. In 2020 would have been the perfect opportunity. But at the same time, Matthew, like, man, I don't know what it's like to be 73.
Yeah.
But from the people I know that are, I could, if it's just not your passion anymore, people lose their passion.
Yeah.
If it's not your passion anymore, you ain't going to regain it at 73 years old. Shit just don't happen, bro. Right? Like, it just ain't that way.
Yep.
And I think that's what's happened.
Yeah.
I think he's lost the passion for the series. I think it got told in visual form.
And so he is,
he's kind of okay with just saying, yeah, maybe I wasn't happy. Now, he's had his disgruntlement with House of the Dragon. He's had issues with that and with the showrunners. But I really do believe that he's just like, you know what? I don't, whatever. Right? I mean, and then people speculate, is a Brandon Sanderson going to come in and finish this up? Is another writer going to come? I don't think that'll ever happen. Have you ever seen that happen before? Have you ever watched that happen with as monumental of a book series or a book? Have you ever seen that happen where another author just turned it over?
Yes.
What would that be?
Brandon Sanderson. It was Robert Jordan's series, Wheel of Time.
Okay.
And
So
and
Wheel of
so
Time, he
so there
actually came
there are
in and
15
took over.
books, 15
Okay.
books in Wheel of Time.
Okay.
Robert Jordan knew he was dying, and so he put it in his will for his wife to find the successor to finish the story. But he spent his last couple of years writing the final chapter and writing the outline for everything for the next 2 or 3 books to line up to that. And then they found Brandon Sanderson. And Brandon Sanderson wrote better books than Robert Jordan did. So the Brandon Sanderson Wheel of Time books are the best of the Wheel of Time books, in my opinion.
And so I've been told. Now, unfortunately, they ruined it by turning it into live action and
Well,
really
the
just
TV series has nothing to do with the books. Like literally, not a thing
really
to do
okay.
with the books.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the characters are all wrong, and their interactions are wrong. The story really is about Rand and his friends, Matt and Perrin, and then you have the Aes Sedai and their story, and then you go on tangents with them as well, and they have a rich story that they should go on, but they just completely stripped away Rand, Matt, and Perrin's stories to tell the girls' stories, and
Okay.
and then they completely mismatch the entire thing because the magic system is based on a masculine and a feminine side, and they function differently. And then the masculine side was corrupted by evil, and that's why men who channel, you use magic, are condemned to madness because that's the curse of it. And then Rand's whole job is to break that curse and reseal the evil and cleanse the male half of the source. Right? That's the purpose of what he's
Okay.
trying to do.
Gotcha.
But he's fighting off going mad from doing it. And so the women are trying to control him or kill him or whatever, while he's trying to save the world. Everybody's got their own political agendas. It's very politically motivated. It's really an interesting
right.
story. Really an
Interesting.
interesting story.
No,
But-
I've actually heard. I've heard that it actually really is. It's extremely popular. But just everything that from the people that I watch and listen to,
Yeah.
have just not been fans of what they've done with the
No,
series.
the TV series was terrible, and so much so
it's a shame.
one of the main actors quit after the first season.
I-
He said, "I'm out."
I did hear about that, almost like Rings of Power, actually, that one of
Oh,
these
yeah.
season 1 actors
Mm.
quit, right? One of the main
Yeah.
characters. Real quick, I want to say hey to Dreadnought K6. You
What's
don't
up,
let
buddy?
your meatloaf, buddy. That's what I got to say to you, Dreadnought. And War Chest Full of Toys says, say the word passion, and War Chest will appear. That's
Well, we
true.
probably had said it 3 times before you showed up, so maybe
That's-
it's the Beetlejuice thing.
It was like a genie. It was like rubbing a genie lamp, right? Say passion 3 times and War Chest will materialize. Good to see you, man. Both of y'all, obviously, man. So real quick, we'll jump off this, but real quick, this article kind of brings up, this is Forbes. This says how exactly far into the book is Martin? How much is left? Who knows, right? He has given no hints. If the book does come out, how much is it going to diverge from the show? Did the show take direction from him? Dan and Dave, said that they asked him what happens, and supposedly he was told, or they were told, and that's kind of where they went, and maybe not all the way, but that George did. They guessed it. They guessed the ending, right? He said guess it, and they guessed it supposedly, and so.
No, well, actually, how they got hired for the job was, can you solve the biggest
casting
secret?
couch?
Well, yeah. He asked them to solve the biggest secret.
Right.
And once they solved the biggest secret, he says, okay, I can trust you guys to do it. And for me, I was like, yes, that's awesome. And then seeing what they produced the first 4 seasons, I'm like, yes, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But then I realized what they were missing from the story in those first 4 seasons. The first 4 seasons are awesome, but there's still a piece of 25% of that universe that is missing from all of the TV show.
But with television, that's kind of how it goes. When you're adapting books and you're adapting a novel, you do have to somewhat kind of carve out some stuff. It always happens.
You do, right? When you change mediums, there's always an attrition that happens.
Right.
In a television show, you don't have to stuff out,
Well,
and that's
that's
the point.
true in a sense because you're right. You're not fitting it into 2.5 hours or whatever, right? 90 minutes or whatever.
Right.
You can
So,
take your time
yep.
with this. They condensed it. They decided to condense the last couple years
Yeah.
down.
And HBO
They
was willing to
decided.
give them a truckload of money and
Oh,
continue it
come
for as long
on.
as
Of
they wanted
course.
to
Absolutely.
finish it out.
Yeah.
But no, this is what you get.
Yeah, I mean, lastly, it says if God forbid he does die, is there sort of a contingency plan? Obviously, we just kind of went over that.
Yep.
Someone else finishing. Is there an outline? Does he have an outline? No one knows. He's been asked these questions and he
Yeah.
refuses
He
to
won't
even
answer.
comment on it. So,
Yep.
who knows? They do actually, however, have a movie in the works, and I'm going to move through this very,
I was going to try
very
and make a
quickly.
different segue.
Oh, well, shit,
No,
by
no,
all
no, it's fine.
means.
I was just like, since we were talking about the TV show thing, we could talk about TV show adaptations of what our book series turned into movies, turned into TV shows, and
Oh wow, man, that might take we might
that's
we
good.
might
That's
need to
good.
take a little time with that one.
Okay, yeah.
There is supposedly a big screen adaptation of Game of Thrones. Basically, Deadline recently reported Warner Brothers is in early development movie set in the Game of Thrones universe. No creative attachments, no filmmaker, cast, or writer yet attached. So my question is, why would you even write this article? What does this article even tell us? It says, but still, a Game of Thrones movie. Do we even need a Game of Thrones movie? I think I just this series, these books, this is perfectly crafted for television, for premiere television.
Yep.
What could you do in a movie? You couldn't even convey
No.
anything
No.
in a movie. And yet we've heard about this for years. I mean, I've been seeing these articles pop up here and there. But I just don't
these
see
people are the
where it
Mike
makes
Zero of
sense.
reporting.
Yeah,
Right? They're just going to
yeah,
throw out everything out there and see what sticks
yeah,
and say, I was right when, it's pointless to talk about a Game of Thrones movie for all the reasons you just said.
yeah.
Right?
It just doesn't
You
make any
cannot
sense
get
to
to the
me.
depth of the material in a 2 hour movie, even a 3 hour movie. You're not going to get to the depth of the material. The Lord of the Rings had a monumental task. And what did they do? They made 3-4 hour movies. And guess what? There's still hundreds of hours of footage left on the cutting room floor that they
Right.
could make a 12 hour, a 15-hour movie out of all three of those books,
Yeah,
right?
I just don't see where that makes any sense at
No,
all from an aspect of
no.
making a movie. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I don't think you can convey what you need with a show like this, the depth that you need in 90 minutes, 2 hours, or
Yeah.
whatever. I
Yep.
just can't.
Were we going to talk about the Harry Potter thing?
Hang on. Yeah, we can. I actually didn't have it saved. I
Oh,
know.
okay, no worries.
It's okay. Listen. It was. It was a pretty wild day today.
Yeah,
Trying to
yeah,
go
yeah,
into the basketball game, but
yeah.
yeah. Give me a second. I can go backwards, but I just want to bring this up because obviously I think next year at the very least, and there could be some delays in this, but I just want to bring this up about Star Wars and Disney Plus. So spending $1 billion on 4 shows
Yeah.
that have an aggregate average audience score of 57.8% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, I can't fathom them spending $250 million on the garbage that they put out. I mean, it's terrible acting. It's actors
bad.
that don't. Most of them don't have much reputation already. They're just some of them are pretty new or not well known. And then the effects are terrible. The acting is terrible. The writing is horrendous.
It's bad I mean, this is bad television.
Yeah.
And for them to spend that kind of money on 4 shows, I mean, 250, was it like 180 million on the Acolyte alone, which any
No,
of
no,
y'all
280 million.
280, yes.
Yeah.
So any of y'all that had seen that, I mean, absolutely brutal. But you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, just acting. A lot of it looks like it's filmed in the volume, which means they any of your scenes they're not on location.
Right.
And obviously it shows. But I think that they really thought that we're gonna buy this IP, and we're just going to pump out content for it, and people are just going to eat it up because it's Star Wars, and they forgot the quality part.
Yeah.
Like they literally forgot the quality part, and it's just amazing to watch where at the time the Marvel stock going way up as the Star Wars movie stock was going down, and we haven't had a movie since 2019, so it's 5 years without a
Yep.
movie. Uh, Obviously, they're moving into the Mando and Grogu. I hope that's not
Title. Yeah.
the
Come
actual
on.
title. I really do hope that that's not the title. Now,
You
they
know what they're going to call
also
it? Oh my God! You know what they're going to call it? They're
well,
going to
let's
just
call
call
it
it.
like Mando and Grogu.
No, they're going to call it Lone Wolf and Cub. No.
Oh God.
If only they had taken that format more seriously, it would have been really interesting because Lone Wolf and Cub is an amazing series. And 3-star, you can wait all you want for that. I don't think anybody has an interest in that except for maybe you, because nobody cared about that show.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I look, as much as I actually wanted to do a recap on the Acolyte. I really kind of just was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna stay away from this.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna stay away from it because
Yeah, no reason to touch it.
no.
Grogu has to die before the sequel trilogy. I mean, or somewhere in that time. Where was he during all that time?
Well, that's the problem with a lot of this because when they go back and do all this stuff, it ends up becoming an issue of like now you've got to fit all these people in where they never showed up, they never popped up. And then you're talking about also putting people in who have a direct effect on some of the things moving forward.
Right.
And that's where I have a problem because then you're starting to change your canon. You're
Yep.
starting to just rewrite your canon, and Rachel, that's BJ and the Bear. Oh my God, I
Not
remember
Rachel
BJ and the
Salinas.
Bear. I love it. I love it. A simple adaptation of BJ and the Bear.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, I actually do love that. Damn it. You know what? Real quick, and I apologize for this because I did have the
What's up, Ronnie? How you doing?
the Harry Potter article, and I had actually sent that to you, and I can't believe that I didn't save it. But I do find that. Hang on, real quick. Let me just make sure. Let me just make sure. It got a little crazy, y'all, right before we went on.
Yeah.
I was trying to save stuff. But yeah, I want to make sure because I know that I sent that to you, and I want to bring it up and make sure that I've got it.
Well, it flowed real well into that conversation we were having on
Well,
Game of
I agree with
Thrones.
you. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right, real quickly. I apologize, y'all. You know, we usually have a really good flow to this, and I hate to
We try.
interrupt the flow. I know some of the live streams that you may watch kind of seem a little slow or slowed down. But I like to kind of keep things moving. But I did want to share this story. If you're talking about the casting, is that what you're talking about? With the casting?
To a degree, yes, I'm talking.
So
about that, but also more loosely on what you can do in a television show's time frame that you can't do in a movie.
Okay, so
and how accurate you can be to the story and how problematic this apparent casting may be.
I love that. So let's share this tab instead. Let's get rid of the stupid ad. Let's go to Hollywood Reporter. Papa Essedu eyed to play Severus Snape in HBO's Harry Potter TV show. Okay, let's get into it a little bit. So J.K. Rowling has a lot to do with this show moving forward on HBO. She is very involved. Now,
Yep.
I don't know what your feelings are. She thinks that a biological woman is a woman. And if it's not, it's not. And evidently, that seems to be her scarlet letter that she has to wear with certain communities around the world.
Eric, I will tell you,
Yes,
no, this isn't necessarily real. This is a rumor
this is, yeah,
of a potential casting. Otherwise, he may have been offered this position. It's like, we want to offer you this role. Now, if he chooses to accept that role and move forward, then we may see him as Severus Snape. Is it real? It's in flux at this time. So,
it is. It is.
yeah.
Now, if you've read the books, I have not, but I will tell you that I do and have read a lot. Now, I want to read to you just putting it all on the table. The physical appearance for Professor Severus Snape. Snape is a thin man with a large hooked nose, sallow skin, and uneven yellow teeth. Shoulder length, black, greasy hair, cold and black eyes. He often wears flowing black robes that make him look like an overgrown bat. Um, Characteristics: cold, calculating, sarcastic, bitter. But described in the book, I'm not sure.
There's
I
a
don't
point
know
when
what
he's
you do with this. I
so
don't.
yeah. I mean, when he's fighting Voldemort, it talks about his marble white skin.
Right.
It is what it is. If you want to cast somebody of a different race for a
And
character,
I don't give a
I don't.
shit.
I don't know that it matters that much, but there is a
Right.
specific description we have in our mind of what this character should look like, and then we have Alan Rickman's performance, right? And I
That's the
agree with
tough part.
I agree with so many other people. Adam Driver is probably the only person who I would accept as Severus Snape in this role at this time. I mean, there could be somebody else that I don't know about that's out there that could do it. Timothy Chalamet maybe do a good job with it, but I doubt that he would do the TV show. I don't know that Adam would do it, but I think Adam Driver would probably be the best choice
Yeah.
to
Oh,
make be
wow.
Severus Snape.
Yeah. And look,
Especially with the conversations that this person is going to have with other people about mudbloods and
see,
slave revolts and how
and
cruel his character actually is in the books.
and that's where we start. It is. That's where you do start to get into some of those things, and I just I don't know. Look, we've seen it a lot in recent years. Now we've seen it to good effect in the House of the Dragon series, right?
Yeah.
Where they took characters, they race swapped it.
Yep.
It didn't matter. It worked to good effect. The acting was
The actor
fantastic
killed
and
it. Yeah, that
amazing,
guy, he
and
killed it.
nobody cares. And I think
Yep.
that's the cure all, right? It's like
Yep.
sports. Winning cures everything. So if you have
Right.
good acting, you got a good story, it cures it all. I just
And
think that,
I
like you
don't
said,
doubt that this man is a good actor,
oh no,
but
no, no, by
but
any
they're
means.
going to have to make him so ugly to be Snape. He's
And
too handsome to be Snape.
And I also think that with Alan Rickman, I just feel like that's the comparison. And even if in this show, if they want to really stay more true to the books than even the movies did, which I think this is what this is trying to go after, then I just don't know. Now again, this is kind of rumor. This has kind of been thrown out there. Sometimes companies, sometimes promotion people, sometimes groups, they'll throw stuff out there to get
Yep.
to judge audience reaction, to
Yep.
gauge level of interest. And this could very well be one of those things. But when you're dealing with something like Harry Potter, which is a huge, huge IP, people they hold that stuff dear, man. And when you're talking about someone who's already been portrayed once very well, people are definitely going to be holding that dear. And I just don't know. Like, we've gotten to this era where staying true to the source material is somehow a bad thing. It's become a bad thing. Like,
Yeah.
if this book was written right, I would dare say that no one would be bold enough in Hollywood to maybe, and maybe it's happened, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, But I don't know if anybody in Hollywood would be bold enough to take a minority character and substitute them with a not non-minority character. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
saying it hasn't happened, and again, by all means, please in the chat if anybody knows. But obviously, if that happened, it would be just the end of cinema in a way, right? It would just be people would just absolutely just be like, oh my god. But you know, again, House of the Dragon didn't bother me. Really didn't care. I saw it.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting, right? Because Targaryens have the white, bright, hair and everything. But it worked.
Pale, yeah,
And so
pale
I
white
don't
skin,
know.
purple eyes,
Yep, yep, yep,
blonde,
yep. So
platinum hair. Yeah.
so I don't know. Same time Toys though says, don't forget the like button, y'all. Definitely hit the like button. Boost that up for us for sure, and appreciate everybody in the chat right now. And I did have this story saved, but I can't believe I didn't actually save it on my stream deck. I'm shocked because I did. I was like, holy crap! But I did want to bring this up because, and as Eric Thurman says, with all the race swapping, and again, depending on the story, depending on the description of the characters, right?
Yeah.
Like it may or not matter. Who cares, right? If the acting's great, if whatever. But
My biggest problem is
man,
that they're committing gingercide. If they're getting rid of all the gingers.
well, and we definitely have seen that, right? We have seen Ginger Side where a lot of ginger actors have been replaced, especially the female ones. On top of that, have been replaced, and a lot of
Yeah.
those roles have gone to other people. I just think at this point, staying true to the source material, casting the right look for the part.
Yep.
I don't
And
think
remember,
there's
it's
nothing
not.
wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think it demeans anyone. It doesn't
No.
not give people chances or opportunities. I think this guy right here would probably have plenty of opportunities to portray all kinds of characters in all kinds of roles, right?
Yeah. And there were other roles even in Harry Potter that he could play. But Harry Potter
Yeah,
was
yeah.
supposed to be taking place in the 1990s. And if you take the percentages of people from the 1990s that were in the UK, you should cast according to that number because it's kind of a period piece at this point because we couldn't put it in modern times and tell the same stories
Right,
with that.
right. Yeah, it's I mean it's interesting. I do agree with you though, to get into it though, is that for a TV series, if you're going to do Harry Potter, there you really can delve more into the specifics and really get into it more than you could in the movies. And I thought the movies were great. I mean, at least for somebody like myself,
Yep.
I thought the movies were great.
Hermione's slave revolt that she did with the house elves, the
Right,
whole they got deeper into the mudblood stuff and the tortures that they put upon mudbloods at Hogwarts sometimes.
right.
So there's a lot of stuff in there.
I
Liam
I think.
Neeson for Dumbledore, that would be
Oh
awesome.
man, yeah, like yeah, some of the casting, yeah, Menjoza, that's great. I mean, and maybe just maybe he would uh dial somebody up and say, "I'm coming for you." Did you kidnap Harry?
I have a particular set of skills.
I have a particular set of skills. Epidermis Darkum. I think that's what 3-star draw said. What did he say? I mean, it's great. I mean, look,
There are some very specific spells that they may have to change the names of.
that's true. That's true. I do think it is interesting. I will be super interested in watching it though.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
I mean, I want that show to be so good because it would be
I agree.
it would run 10 seasons, 15 seasons, and people would eat it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. And look, I haven't read the books by any means, but I found the movies interesting, and I would find the series interesting.
I
And
wish
and
that they would release the extended television cuts onto disc at some point because the only way to watch it right now is on one of the streaming services. I think it's NBC.
yeah,
They have the extended television versions, which have a lot of the deleted or cut scenes from the movies put in there. It gives a little more context to a couple of things, but I love the
right.
casting that they did in the movies. I thought the casting
I did.
for that was
Oh
just about
wow.
perfect.
Yeah, I agree. And I went to the theaters to see every one of those movies. Didn't know again. Didn't read the books, but like, I could follow movie to movie. And for somebody like myself, that's kind of It's kind of how it is, you know. I'm not a huge book reader. I'm
Mm.
not. Yeah, Shane, listen, replay 100%, buddy. Thank you, man. And thank you for coming in early and often, my friend. Really, always. And yes, the Hogwarts game that came out recently was
The
a
one that
great
everybody was
game.
supposed to ban and block and
Well,
not.
see that's the other thing, Matthew. Look, I'm not going to get into it about the whole J.K. Rowling thing. It's just so outrageous.
It's nuts.
And
It's crazy.
supposedly everybody was going to ban, not play the game, and they were going to, and it's the biggest game of like 2023, I think, like
Well,
the
and
biggest game that came out.
it just shows you that if you have one opinion that differentiates from that side of the aisle, then you are persona non grata and you will be eliminated. One opinion, one thing that's different.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because truthfully, I mean, she is the epitome of like your, feminist agenda, leftist as far, left leaning politically.
Yeah.
And yet, because she dares to maybe have one different opinion.
Which is actually a true feminist opinion, by the way.
Well, that's always the thing for me is that all these decades of fighting for women's rights, women's sports, and women,
And
and
now
then
the
all of a
woman of the
sudden you just
year
want to
and all the
undo it
top women athletes are
is a
genetically not.
biological man. I
Yeah,
mean, I find that fascinating, and
it is
that
interesting.
and it's called co-opting, folks. Just so you
Yeah,
understand, it's
yeah.
called co-opting. So we got a little news uh, from uh, from Dave Filoni, and I'm trying to
Oh
kind
boy,
of
the Filoniing part
oh yeah.
4.
So so real quickly here, just to kind of follow up just a little bit. For those of you that were looking forward to Mando season 4, because I know you loved Mando season 3. Mando season 1 was all right.
It was all
Mandalorian
right.
season 1. Season 2
So,
started to get a little off the reservation.
yep.
Uh,
So
see,
there was a lot that I wanted to really like about season 2. Season 1 was mediocre to good enough to pass, and that's
yeah,
what I mean. I said it at the time, but I know a lot of people were like, "What? This is the best thing ever," and I'm like, "Okay, just wait. This is still very childish, and that's fine, but let's see where it goes." And then when Grogu got to be so darn popular, they could not get rid of him.
could
That
not
was
turn. Yes,
the
yep,
problem, is
I agree.
because Grogu was not supposed to be in season 3.
So when that so number one, let's understand they. It's amazing to me that a company like this had no idea that Baby Yoda
Yeah,
would be so popular that they had no toys available. They were behind the eight ball when this came out, and then all of a sudden had to scramble.
yeah,
And then once they did, I think it's almost kind of the counter thing where people like, yes, they bought up everything and the little stuff, plushies and this and that. But it was almost like if they'd have been ahead of the curve, they could have maximized it. But once all the stuff came out and
yeah,
then season 2 came out, it's like, yeah, this isn't as good as it was. And I think that fell off. And I think they're still trying to milk the Grogu angle, right? And yet I don't think people care. People care
yeah.
as much. Liquid Identity, if you're saying yes, 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 as far as Mando season 4, or could it be Clint Jorgensen's Don Knotts in a remake of Shaft comment? I don't know what the yes, yes, yes is. Please clarify. Eric Thurman, yeah, when they fired Gina Carano, it definitely changed the story. And for a lot of people, they said, I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
done. Not
What?
because of a story writing or storytelling aspect. They looked at what happened with Gina Carano, and they said, I'm not going to support this anymore.
Yeah, and well, I mean, I really like Katie Sackhoff. I like her personality. I like
Yeah,
what she provides to it. I love
I'm with
her
you.
voice acting with Bo-Katan in the cartoon, and I
Hmm.
love that they brought her back for the live action.
I agree.
I love seeing her as Bo-Katan, but the way that they ended or went through that story, I said it from the beginning that it said book 1. I thought
Yeah.
book 1 could be Din Djarin, book 2 could be Boba Fett, book 3 could be Bo-Katan, and book 4 could be the reunification of Mandalore, where you tie the stories back up together in that. And I thought that would have been a proper progression of what the Mandalorian show should have been about,
Solid story premise, that's for sure. I like
right?
that.
And that way you develop this lone wolf and cub thing, and then Grogu goes off, and then you have Boba Fett and what he's been doing since he crawled back out of the Sarlacc pit, and then you have what Bo-Katan was doing with building the army, and then the three people come together and say, we need to light the fires back in Mandalore and bring that back together.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I love Bo-Katan. I think, unfortunately, they just totally blew it
Yeah.
with this last season with her and Mando and just handing her the damn the dark saber.
Well, and that's
oh my god,
it has to be. They said it over and
ridiculous.
over again. It has to be taken in combat, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and so and Liquid, you know, I like the Mando character. I hate that they turned him into a guest star in his own show. But then what's weird is then they took 2 episodes of the Boba Fett show and made it the Mandalorian show.
Yeah.
You know, and they brought Luke Skywalker. It's like, what is happening? So
that was from Kathleen Kennedy, I'm fairly certain, because she didn't want those parts of the story to be told in the Mandalorian TV show, but Favreau had to do it, so he snuck it into the Boba Fett show because it wasn't explicitly against what she had said.
Right. Well, so what we're going to get this movie, right? And I believe next year, 2026. So look, okay, here's the deal, folks. Mandalorian season 3 already fell off a cliff. People were not interested.
Yep.
And then now you're going to wait till 2026 to make a feature film. Not even knowing whether Pedro Pascal is going to be involved, right?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't even on set anymore. He was doing just the voiceover work.
He stopped being on set because John Wayne's kid was doing a better job.
I just don't know what you're. Yeah, right. And I mean, I just don't know what you do with this. Like, I'll be honest with you, Liquid. I did not like it when Mandalorian became a pseudo dad babysitter, and then it just became him, and it was almost like rinse and repeat. Yeah, like every episode show up at a new place. I like the idea. Bounty hunter shows up, helps out a tribe, helps out a person. Like, but I'm once it became just like, hey, this is dude, he's a dad now, you know, and it's like, well, that's not that interesting. This guy was a badass bounty hunter in the first season, and they first few episodes.
They made the biggest mistake ever of blowing up the Razor Crest, because the Razor Crest, and they just had the freaking HasLab. They just had the HasLab
Legos
for the Razor Crest, and
all of that.
They would be all sold out by now, but guess what? They're not sold out anymore, and they're going on deep discount now for that original Razor Crest set, because everybody's like, all they gotta do is dump the pieces out, and there it is. There's the Razor Crest, because it's all blown up.
Yeah, I did not.
It's the
like
dumbest
that.
marketing idea.
I agree,
because they had something wonderful there, and throughout history, they should have realized people have an attachment to the craft. Right,
especially if you make a cool ship, people get attached to that.
Okay, you go back to Knight Rider, you go back to A-Team, you go back to
Dukes of Hazzard, whatever.
Yeah, they all have their iconic transportation device.
Yes,
right.
And the Razor Crest was a cool ship.
The Razor Crest was a really cool ship.
Yeah, unique.
And, it was unique. It was designed well. They put a lot of thought into it. They had all the things that you need for it, and it made sense in the universe. Quite frankly, a little more than the Millennium Falcon did. But
yeah,
it becomes almost as iconic as the Millennium Falcon. But then you blow it up. It's like,
and then you put him in a freaking Naboo starfighter,
Episode 1 remote starfighter.
That's not a bounty hunter ship. Right, and a lot of people kind of made that. They were like, "What? Okay. Why is he flying? He couldn't even sit."
It's not
so many problems.
Yeah, it's not a bounty hunter ship. It's an assassin's ship, right? Because it's a hot rod, right? So you've completely changed the whole dynamic. He can no longer be a bounty hunter, right? That ship
And
won't
how do
allow
you
him.
fly long periods of time with Grogu in your lap? I know he had him in that little. I
The
just
droid
don't.
droid pod. Okay, so you take the droid out. Wait. You take the droid out. You take the thing that's navigating your hyperspace travel. You take that out, and you put it in a pod for a child to sit in. Well, what about the droid's calculations that are supposed to be made while you're flying the craft that keeps you alive? I mean, where's that being done now?
I don't. But when you think about it, though, really truly, like seriously, think about it. The Razor Crest, long flight path, right? You got plenty of room to move around. He had the little storage area.
Storage.
He had his
Yep.
armor storage area, his weapon
Yep.
storage area, prisoner storage area, all that stuff. And now he's just flying in a Corvette. And it's
Yep.
like, there's no way. It makes no sense. Now, everybody thought that was weird, but also,
They're going with BJ and the Bear, Smokey and the Bandit, right?
yes, yes. And then within the show itself, when they did Jack Black and Lizzo,
oh God,
a,
don't
a
even.
lot of people just were like, nope, I'm done. When I see Lizzo show up on my TV show, nah, I'm good. I'm good with that. I don't need no mo. Frank Duman, what's up, man?
What's
Good to
up?
see you. Yeah, and then Eric Thurman says, renaming Slave One with another name. That was totally done out of knee jerk reaction
Yeah,
to
yeah.
2020, 21.
And the
Definitely.
Washington football team is talking about changing their name back, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, and I brought that up, and I had a guy tell me that was a fake story until I showed him the video, and I
No,
showed him
no.
all the hype around it, and I was like,
Well,
yeah,
people don't realize that the local indigenous people gave them permission to use the name and design the logo, so
they
were
were
getting.
honoring this person. They even had a halftime
Yep.
presentation a couple weeks ago
Yep.
with the relatives of the person that was the logo of the Redskins, and
Who no
and
longer gets royalties, who used to get royalties, and now they
yes.
do not.
And a lot of people don't know that. And you know
Yep.
why? Because all we heard was that there was a segment of people that were like, oh, this name, it's awful. It can't be used. And they drowned out the actual real story. And you
Yep.
didn't know the real story.
Yep.
And now that the real story is out, I'm like, holy shit. Like
Yeah.
this is how things get taken over by
Well,
special interests and
yeah.
groups of
I
people.
grew up in DC, so
Amazing.
I knew the truth of the matter
Right.
from the beginning. And I was telling people, I was like, look, what's going to happen to all this stuff? And this, well, I didn't know an indigenous person designed the logo. I didn't know that they gave them permission of
Right.
receiving royalties. And I go,
Right.
yeah, that whole tribe was
Fascinating.
missing royalties.
Fascinating. And to know the actual real truth, which got buried
Yeah.
by fake news, right?
Yep,
But
yep, yep.
Rachel, yeah, an intergalactic U-Haul trailer would be. I guess he needs to pull something behind. We'll see what kind of ship that he does have. Evidently, 2026 we'll be getting the Mando movie and Grogu. Hopefully, no Lizzo and Jack Black. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be about. From what I understand, they're wanting to tie together the Ahsoka storyline with Grogu, Mando, Boba Fett, and possibly Luke Skywalker deep fake.
I don't know how you're going to do that
We'll
because,
see.
I mean, seriously, the Ahsoka storyline, they took one of the best Star Wars characters that was created after Lucas's
Yeah.
Involvement in creating characters that Dave Filoni actually created and developed and did a great job with the animated series, and they completely wrecked her in that TV show because I love Rosario Dawson, but that direction or that writing just ruined her.
So the film is wrapped, and Dave Filoni, real quickly, and this is the quote I want to get to, and we'll jump off this. Says he says, I'm very excited about it as well. The movie is now wrapped filming, and he was attending the Skeleton Crew premiere at Disneyland Resort. He said, John and I had a great time working on that, as we always do. It was great seeing Grogu. He's become such a star, and it's amazing how it's evolved. What we can do now with puppetry compared to season one, and where we are today with film, working with a team. And he says, Legacy Effects did a fantastic job. What a wonderful little creation Grogu is. I mean,
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, he says, I'm so well into writing and still the single writer on it. Been enjoying writing it. It's a challenge. I mean, really no information. Like Ahsoka season 2, he's the solo writer on that, evidently. So it seems like they're going to bring these two things together. And it seems like we probably are not going to get the Daisy Ridley uh, movie. I just don't see how that moves forward. I
Well, I don't
really don't.
know. I mean, they put a lot of effort, time, and money into it. So
But
Kathleen Kennedy will go down swinging to make sure
no,
that
no
her
script. They lost already a main writer
look
on it, and
if
who's
the Ray
making it?
yeah if the Ray movie does not get made, then Kathleen Kennedy is truly out because Ray is her surrogate persona on screen,
Yeah,
her
sure,
nothing burger
right.
character that she wants to be her avatar in Star Wars, and so if the Ray movie doesn't happen, then I think that is Kathleen Kennedy's egress.
Folks, I'm going to take bets that it doesn't happen because we've had more projects announced by Disney of
that
Star
haven't
Wars
right that
that
haven't
haven't
happened.
happened
Yeah,
that have happened.
yeah,
They've lost more directors,
yep.
more writers, more everything. Every time they've
No one
announced
wants
something.
to work on Star
No,
Wars because it's a
no.
failing, dying
Well,
brand
and
since Disney's owned it.
and even back in the day, Matthew, like if you
It
really
wasn't
think
no.
about it, it
It
you
it
know, even
it,
back in the 80s, it
it was
was
the
like
kids' toy property. People did. I mean, it was like Larry Hama was the last person in the hallway that they asked to write GI Joe because it was a
right,
toy book. It's the
right.
same thing with Star Wars. Star Wars was this kiddie toy brand that nobody wanted to mess with.
It's
And it
just
wasn't until Timothy Zahn's series in the 90s that actually
yeah.
sparked people's interest in, hey, there's adult content that it can be told in this universe.
Well, even acting wise, what did Carrie Fisher, what did Mark Hamill afterwards, right? I mean, Billy D. Williams afterwards, right? I mean, Harrison was the only one that really went on to greater heights,
And
and
guess what
it
character he
almost felt
never
like a
wanted to
kiss
play
of
again?
death. Yeah, right. But just looking at it from that angle, it's like, and
Yeah.
people, I mean, even Liam Neeson, I mean, you had people telling him, like, man, you don't want to be invited. That's going to be the end of your career. That's all you're going to ever be known for. Now, that's not true in his case, and Ewan
Yeah.
McGregor, but I will say this, even in Ewan McGregor's case, yes, he's done some good stuff, but what do people actually really know him from? Portraying Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean,
Train
that's
spotting.
really okay, Train Spotting. It's the only other thing, right? And I was gonna say it, but even then, there's plenty of people that haven't seen Train Spotting.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, so what do they really know Ewan McGregor from? Oh, that's right, they know him from Star
Star
Wars,
Wars. Yeah.
right? And he
Well,
keeps
and
coming back to it.
it's the same thing that
Warren
they said
Davis killed it.
to Christopher Reeve. Oh yeah, by the way, if you haven't seen it, you all need to watch that. The
Oh, the documentary,
the Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman.
yeah. I need to watch that.
You need to watch that
Yeah.
because it goes into all kinds of stuff. It's really good. It's emotional. It's really fascinating to dive into that. But he was a classically trained actor. He was working on
Yes.
stage, doing stage productions, and they said, "You're going over to the UK to audition for Superman. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're going to sell your soul." And he didn't, but at the same time, he did Superman, and it was such a huge success. It changed his entire life.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but that's a good documentary to watch.
Yeah, I need to see that and you know quickly I do want to direct y'all to check this article out. We're not going to go through the whole article. I found this interesting on thatparkplace.com about modern storytelling. And I do find this interesting because at the very beginning of this, I just want to read to you some of the movies. It talks about a kind of a renaissance in the late 90s, early 2000s, hidden renaissance in film and television. This period gave us iconic blockbusters. Now think
Yeah.
about this and think about now. Titanic,
Mhm.
Lord of the Rings,
Yep.
Harry Potter franchise, Saving Private Ryan,
Yep.
Avatar, which I don't know, Pirates of the Caribbean, Sopranos, Band of Brothers, Rome, which I thought was an amazing 2 season series, especially
Yeah.
season 1. Rome was amazing.
Season one was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all considered kind of timeless, right?
Yep.
Um do we get movies like this? What's the problem? And it talks about how modern storytelling, what has happened? Where what's been the problem with it? Why are
You,
we not getting good stories now?
well, I'll tell you what happened in the 90s, early 2000s. This is exactly what happened. You had Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, and a couple other small independent guys make it huge with low budget films. And then they got an entire career where they could tell actual stories, and people got excited about filmmaking again. And they
Right.
went out there and they took chances, and studios took chances on these independent guys, these smaller guys, these guys that they didn't know, these people from other countries that they weren't sure about. You get Peter Jackson. Who's this guy? What's he done? Okay, we'll see what he can do with this. And they built these amazing franchises because of the independent sphere. And then we got to the mid 2000s where it went straight corporate again. You had Marvel and Disney buying up Star Wars and Disney, and just Marvel, and they just built this thing that was a juggernaut of this corporate machine. And now that corporate machine has fallen apart. And now we're getting back to more independent cinema again. You're going to see more independence coming up. And so you're going to see a lot of creative things coming out in the next, maybe 5, 6 years or so. But 2 or 3 years from now, you're going to see a lot more independent stuff hitting the mainstream that's going to become popular again. So we'll have this resurgence again in the film industry, but it won't be from Hollywood. I don't think it's going to come from other sources.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think that what happened, one of the best things to happen, I guess, for us as an audience was the Marvel movies. But one of the worst things to happen for Hollywood was the Marvel movies, because then everyone thought you needed every movie to make $1 billion, which meant you had to spend hundreds of million on the budget. And we
Right.
lost our mid-level films. We lost our medium range, our rom-coms, our
Yes.
comedies, our
Yep.
mid-range films that are made for 20 to 30 million dollars,
Yep.
and they make 200 at the box office, or they make
Yep.
170, and they make their money back, which funds the other films. You
Right.
continue. There's more work for people. There's more directors working. There's more writers working. There's more actors working. But when you lose money because you think you have to swing for the fences every movie,
Right.
and especially
That's the problem.
when you're not putting out good content and
Right.
good movies, and then streaming comes along to exacerbate that problem because it's too much content.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than people can consume, and most of it is not good. Then yes, you create the issue where now, yes, we're going to need that resurgence back to mid-level filmmaking, independent films. It's not coming out of Hollywood. It's going to be coming out of other states that are, people are getting tax breaks to film there, and they're not going to have that Hollywood model. One thing I always thought, though, in the last several years was as the price of cameras came down, as we swapped
Yes.
from film to digital, as
I
we
saw
made
that
it
coming.
more accessible for people than ever before as amateurs to get into making their own movies, I really thought we would see more independent and more films accessible from people that are amateur and possibly be able to parlay that into a career. And we really haven't seen that. We haven't seen that as camera
Yeah.
costs have come down, as you don't have to have reels and reels of film and tape it together and cut it and edit it. You
I,
know,
I I'm going
it's
to touch on
interesting.
this
It's
just
an
for a second.
interesting subject. Yeah,
It
absolutely.
is, and that has allowed more and more people to get into the industry. And like I said, that independent market's going to grow because of that stuff, like we were talking about. You need to have some great directors like Tony Scott. Yes, eh, you
Better than
know.
his brother at this point.
Well, at this point, his brother is kind of drifting off
Yeah.
into fantasy land. Lawrence Kasdan is not a director. He's never directed. He's a writer,
Mhm.
and his writing gets to be hit or miss sometimes. He's partnered with people and has written some really good stuff. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate a lot of the stuff that he's written. But for the most part, that's all he does. He wrote Wyatt Earp, which is a good story, but not a great movie. And it's a Kevin Costner, and it's too big and long. But
Yeah.
and so he just yeah, he's not a director per
I
se.
mean, you could look at The Big Chill, you could look at Body Heat, French Kiss. I mean, yes, White Earp, Silverado. Like there's some. I don't know. There are some hit and misses in there for sure. I mean, just looking through some of
Oh
this,
yeah, yeah. I mean, and
filmography.
I
I mean,
appreciate his writing, and
right.
you know, and I like what he's done. But yeah, directors like Tony Scott, honestly, you know, we need a new Tarantino. We need a new Rodriguez.
Well, but Hollywood's kind of not allowed that though. I mean, that's
Correct.
their own fault that they
And
have
it's
not
because
allowed that.
it's because they've become the corporate model, and the corporate model does
Yeah,
not allow them to
exactly.
take chances. And
Absolutely.
this whole losing so much money is going to force them to spend a little bit of money and take a chance on someone that's completely different or new or whatever. Eventually, if they're going to survive at all, that's what they're going to have to
They
do
have to make they
to
have to change the way
they've
they're
got
doing
to
it.
create the rom-com, and
Yeah.
you have to allow comedy to be comedy again. If comedy can be comedy again, and we can make fun of ourselves and laugh at ourselves, then we can have comedy. If we can have comedy again, you can have growth in the industry again. But if you're going to say that all comedy is offensive, and everything has to be this bland MCU humor nonsense, then you're going to lose that, because you're never going to be able to create a
Well,
comedy, and you're never going to have growth.
audiences want to be challenged. And when
Exactly.
you treat them like children, right? Like you say, well, we need a trigger warning at the beginning of this show because we don't
Oh
think you
God.
can handle the
Yep.
sensitive content in this episode. When you treat people like children, then eventually they catch on and they say,
Yep.
look, I'm not. I want
Yeah.
people want to be challenged, even when they don't know it. They
Right.
still want to be challenged, and so I think that's something that has been lost as well. Is that in
Yeah.
this? Some people call it pussification of America. Some people call it, whatever. It's the
Whatever.
participation trophies, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
But yes, I think that ultimately people do, even when they don't know it, they
Yep.
want to be challenged. They want critical thinking. They want to be able to dig into something good.
Exactly.
And you know it when you see it, right? And you
Exactly.
know it when you get it. And we have not been getting it. And so, yeah, I'm hoping we do. I'm hoping we ever return to those
I
mid-level,
think we
like
will.
just good, solid movies, well written, that don't have to, they don't have a $300 million budget. And I think we're
Exactly.
going to see that out of necessity.
Exactly. And if it doesn't come from Hollywood, Hollywood is truly dead.
Yes.
Mendoza, I did want to touch on that real quick. Silverado is awesome. White
Oh
Earp,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like it a lot, and it's more historically accurate than Tombstone, but Tombstone is so much better of a movie. And White Earp it's too
Oh
long and
sure,
drawn out.
sure.
It's a Kevin Costner epic thing, and if you're in the mood for it, it's great. But I do love Wyatt Earp, but it's for very different reasons, because Tombstone is still tops because it's
Yeah,
just
and
awesome.
you'll get that from most people as well.
Yeah.
Really quick, the Terrence Hill Bud Spencer comment by Turk Murphys. They actually they have a video game. They have a video game, and it is just like it is everything you would expect from Terrence Hill and Bud Spencer. It is goofy, throwing pies, doing stupid shit. Look it up. Look it up, Turk. It's pretty funny stuff. And Rachel, I agree 100%.
Carlos, I'm with you 100%, but we need to hang out sometime.
Yep. Defund the PC police. I agree. Um, yeah, and also 3 Star Draw says, yeah, White Earp didn't have Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into the back and forth of that, but yeah, I mean, it's either way. Yeah, I mean, Larry Kasdan has written some good stuff, and like
Yeah.
everybody, written some stuff that hasn't hit, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes
That's
that's not
okay.
always the writer's fault either, right?
You're absolutely right. It gets
That's
twisted
for sure.
in the production. We all know that it all gets changed,
Yeah.
and depending on how uptight you are as a writer, depends on how much you can work that to your will. And some people are like, I understand the process. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to be a team player, and I'm going to let you guys do what you do. And those people continue to get work, like Larry Kasdan,
Yep,
and
that's right.
other people that are writers that are like, no, you have to read what I wrote, and that's it. There's no ad libbing. Those people, unless they're extremely successful all the time, they tend to not get hired again after their first one that doesn't hit.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you've got to be able to snake through it, right? If you're going to last that long. I mean, and that guy's lasted a long time.
No 3-star. We
Man,
will never see that movie. That movie is done. And I don't want to say it because it would be insensitive of me to say it, but we will never see that movie.
yeah. So as we kind of like I like to say round third base here as we kind of get to the back end of it. Maybe some of y'all saw this story. Maybe some of y'all know this girl got famous on the streets of where I live. She
Oh,
got
God.
famous for describing how she likes to give a BJ, and may very well be headed to a jail, a Hawk to a jail. Um,
She's going to be hawk doing a lot.
did you guys see this? Yeah, prison guard, maybe I don't know. So
Hey, the ladies like it too.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Hawk to a girl's crypto coin launches and crashes within 3 hours. Um, if you couldn't spot a scam from a mile away,
Man, who's the scam guy that called him up and they actually let him on the show on the stream, and he pointed out that it's a friggin' scam in front
I
of
mean,
everybody.
truly, and you see this in the crypto industry a lot. You see these pump and dump uh, scams, man, and you get someone who's some modicum of fame, internet fame, YouTube fame. You saw it actually. There were people, scamming on YouTube, big creators, people that have millions of subscribers
Yep.
that were, caught up in scams.
Yep.
And, really don't know. I mean, I guess how much she was. I'm sure this poor girl, I say poor girl, let me rephrase that. This is someone who got famous for a viral video,
Mm-hmm.
right, in downtown Nashville. Um, for describing how to give a BJ, and her phrase is you got to hawk two of that thing. And she has parlayed this, and I'm sure she has probably a team of 15 people that all have a piece of that pie coming to
Possibly.
them.
Yep.
Has parlayed this into some kind of something, a podcast. She got to maybe sing the national anthem. To me, America, I never want to hear people ever tell me that America is some kind of country where you cannot blossom and do whatever the hell you want to do. Because this is
Remember that
proof.
Will Smith movie,
Oh,
where the homeless guy that becomes
yes,
the
yes,
millionaire.
yes,
I love that story. And that whole thing is so true because you can come from nothing from anywhere and you can make it big if you just hit the right zeitgeist.
yes. So just get into this real quick. Her Hawk coin, meme coin launched December 4th, quickly reached a total market value of $490 million. Okay. Just a few hours later, the value of the coin had crashed as people started trying to sell in mass. So if you invested just literally 3 hours later, you were trying to sell and you're probably losing what you invested.
So
95% drop in value in 3 hours.
So I saw this wonderful little video, and I almost sent it to you. I almost sent it to everybody. I saw it on Instagram, and it was hey, this is cryptocurrency in a nutshell. And this guy's sitting down there, and he's got this little tiny bag of chips and this soda, and somebody comes up and takes a soda and throws back a 2-liter bottle, and he's like, "Oh, this is awesome. Okay, so what if I do with the bag of chips?" And he takes the little tiny single serve bag of chips and he gets a whole bag of chips. And he's like, "Oh, this is awesome." And so he throws down a couple bucks down there and he gets a stack of cash. And he's like, "Oh, this is awesome." So he takes all of his cash out of his pockets and throws it down. And he takes the 2-liter bottle and the big bag of chips and throws it down and it gets taken. And then the door closes. Gone.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's basically this. It says it dropped that fast, has
Yeah.
some people speculating that her and her team have purposefully inflated the coin, pumping up its value, then dumping it at its peak, making a ton of money in the process while leaving all the investors in the lurch. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Now we'll find out whether, and it'll be investigated. There's no way in the world this won't be investigated. We've seen crypto, we've seen people try to jump in and make quick money off of it. And when this stuff gets investigated, man, like it's traceable, people, and it's just amazing that like something like this, who, like Mendoza says, people trusted her financial sense. Who in the fuck?
I don't know. I don't know.
Who is so stupid?
I don't know. A lot of people.
But like, seriously, could you not? This is the epitome of 15 minutes of fame.
Yep.
Like this, there's no talent.
Nope.
She's not Cardi B. She was a stripper who could rap, and some producer said, "I'm going to make you famous," and they did. Right? There's nothing about like this girl, that makes me think that she has anything other than the viral video that she made. This is the epitome of 15 minutes, man. And to think that people are that dumb.
Hey, man, everybody gets their 15 minutes.
It's just, I mean, do they? I don't know. I'm still waiting on mine. Maybe this is mine.
Yeah, who knows, man? We don't know what our 15 minutes is. But
You don't.
Gets 15 minutes.
And I'm not saying that this girl couldn't be taken, right? Like, you probably, I'm not kidding you, dude. When that went viral, I guarantee you she had hundreds of phone calls from all different kinds of agencies and people and managers and PR and everything. And then you have to suss them out and figure out which one's the best one. And look, I get it, man. Look, if you get a chance to maximize your opportunity to make life-changing money in this world,
do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
I think, I mean, my opinion, she got taken advantage of by the person that brought her this whole idea, and that person orchestrated all of this. And, it's a quick cash scam. And somebody made a lot of money off of it, and whoever made a lot of money off of it is going to get pinned down for culpability in this fraud.
It literally, like right here, it says, meanwhile, data seems to indicate that someone dumped $1.4 million worth of Mooding coin, whatever the fuck it is, based on the hippo the internet loved for a few weeks. It's like the Doge coin, the dog coin shit. They dumped $1.4 million worth of an actual, I guess, valid coin for this Hawk coin, and then lost most of it after trying to swap back to the coin they left to go to this Hawk coin. Can you imagine losing like $1.1 million in a matter of 3 hours?
No.
No. America. It's a great fucking place. Don't let anybody try to tell you it's not, but don't be stupid. Just don't be dumb. Like, come on, man. This is brutal. And yeah. But you're right, man. A fool and his money will soon be parted. And there's that many idiotic people out there who actually bought into that shit. It's fascinating to me. So really quickly, man, I had mentioned earlier did you know McDonald's got review bombed and Google had to step in because of the United Health guy's supposed killer being caught at a McDonald's, and McDonald's got review bombed for it? That's the world we live in. Google had to remove actual negative reviews that violated its policies because people they review bombed the McDonald's location in Pennsylvania, in Altoona, that this guy got arrested at. Can you imagine
Well, I mean, first off, is that actually the guy? I mean, come on now.
Well, right. Luigi Mangione.
I saw that meme. I saw that meme. That was hilarious. Oh my goodness.
But I just don't, man, like, I just, really? People review bombing a McDonald's in which the guy was caught in? Like, I don't even understand. Getting negative and 1-star reviews after his arrest. This is fascinating to me. Like, this is what the hell? Like, this is what people. I've given reviews before. Maybe you have. I've given reviews before, but I've never thought, like, you have to be out of your mind to give a negative review to a McDonald's that where if someone was caught. I don't even get it. I don't even understand this. It's just so stupid.
yeah, no.
Oh my
No, I
god. Oh, look at that logo right there. You know what I've been shopping? Look, Dragonfly Nose Art Tapestry. What the hell is that even? I don't even know what that
oh
is.
no, right, don't go there.
Daddy chill. Daddy chill. What the
All
hell
right.
even is that? So real quick, War Chest, listen. If you bring Hawk to a girl to Joe Fest and you show up to Joe Fest, I'll be your best friend. I'll be your best friend for life. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, right, that's great. Next, Hawk to a girl is the next presidential nomination on the Democratic ticket. Hey,
With running mate AOC.
don't put that kind of shit out in the universe. All right. Yeah, yeah. Look out, because they don't know what they're gonna do in 4 years. I don't know, but
They didn't know
anyway,
what they were gonna do this time.
I just thought that was interesting, and
Oh yeah, that's
you
funny.
know, to review bomb a McDonald's over something, I don't get it at all. And but yeah, anyway, so listen, you got anything you want to bring up before we get out of here? Is there anything you picked up, any shows, anything like that? And if you don't, that's fine.
Well,
It's
I mean,
yeah.
I got my Christmas presents in, so some of them have to wait till Christmas. But
Oh
I
yeah.
got the last bit of everything that's
Okay.
come in. That's coming in. I've got a couple more Christmas presents for my wife and daughter coming in, but nothing too much. Um, this guy's gonna make my top 10 this year. He's not gonna be number one like Veteran William. I don't think Veteran William
Okay.
had a little bit more, but I appreciate the double joints and double knees. This dude is pretty awesome. The articulated jaw. He
Looks great.
doesn't
Looks
have as
great.
many swappable parts, but I mean, in comparison, I mean he's quite the dude.
Yeah. Good lord. Holy crap.
Yeah. So he is a great wolf, right?
Yeah.
So they call him a great
Yeah.
wolf for a
Yeah.
reason.
Right.
And Veteran William is amazing, and the same people made this guy, and it's good, solid plastic. But I appreciate the double joints and everything. There's a couple gripes I have, which is why he probably won't be number one, but we'll see. I'm still debating on my number ones. But I've got a top 10 list of action figures, and I might do a top 10 classified. I don't
Okay.
know, but it's been another good year. So we'll see. But I
Yeah.
got my Dragonfly and my Robo Skull over here, waiting for Christmas,
Yeah,
and
man. That's
it's gonna be
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, I know it will be. Yeah, we I guess probably in the next because we've got what so I look at the calendar real quick. We've got uh next week on the 17th, and then really the Tuesday after that is Christmas Eve. I would dare say we probably will not be streaming that night.
No,
Lots going on. I know I do too.
Mendoza, I do not have that one. That one looked interesting. I would have loved to have picked that one up if I could have. Um, Pop, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to do a pre-recorded to release on that
Yeah,
Tuesday, but
I think what we need to do is we need to maybe do a pre-recorded for that Tuesday night on Christmas Eve for those that just kind of hanging out, and we play I put it on at the same time, and whatever, be fine. But we definitely going to come up, I guess, with probably maybe our top 5 maybe biggest, maybe stories of the year, maybe, or Hollywood stories, maybe good, bad, indifferent, maybe a nice and naughty, or, good, bad, and ugly, something like that. So definitely need to communicate with you about that.
Yeah, yeah.
I need
Naughty or
to
nice list. I
follow
like
through
it.
on that. Yeah. And that's kind of something Three Star and I will be doing with our stream as well. I'll be on with him on Three Star Draws channel for Sevens Wild tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. And so we've got it's getting into that Christmas theme, right? We're gonna kind of go through some top lists and stuff like that, naughty and nice, maybe, and all that. So we kind of need to do that, and then the next week after that for Christmas Eve,
For New Year's Eve.
yeah, and well, shit, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, we got
Yep.
two back to back. Now, New Year's Eve for me these days ain't shit, but Christmas Eve
Yeah.
still is kind of a deal.
I got a couple invites to a couple crazy parties, but
Okay.
I don't plan on going.
Well, I can't remember the last time I got invited to a crazy party, let alone a party in general. But
A friend of mine bought a duplex, and it's got like 12 bedrooms or something like that. And they're hosting a big,
Shit.
huge New Year's party before. Okay, this is before she gives it over to her kid and his frat brothers, who are going to be renting the space in it. So they're making money off the frat boys paying rent
Wow.
on the place to help fund the whole thing. But they made a rather large investment in this place, but they're going to have a huge party in there before that.
Sounds like a multiplex, not a duplex. Jeez, Louise.
I mean, it's
Like,
I don't know. I haven't seen
14?
it,
Holy
but
shit.
I almost want to go just to see
incredible.
it. But at the same time, I'm like, I can't hang with you guys. You guys are older than me, and you still drink way more vodka than I can possibly inhale.
I hear you. Well, yeah, we'll get something together and make sure. But yeah, that'll be two kind of important days, holidays. Kind of tough to stream. Maybe New Year's Eve if I don't have anything going on. I may just kind of do a stream that night. A little countdown stream or something. Figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I'm down for a New Year's Eve stream if
okay, all right, well, cool. Well, then we'll discuss it, and for those that aren't going out, you just want to hang out with us for a little while and maybe count down or something like that, then that'd be cool. That'd be fun. I'd be down with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, look, that's all I got. I don't have any recommendations for you guys. I do want to go check out this show on Amazon Prime. I love video games, so I'm glad I got recommended this by 3 Star called Secret Level. So I'm going to go check that out. And
cool.
Skeleton Crew episode 3, I'll let y'all know whether you need to spend your time.
Keep watching The Landman. Pick up your Conan comics and your G.I. Joe comics, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, man. Look, always appreciate everybody tuning in every Tuesday night, and it's always fun to do this with you, of course, Matthew, and I'll be seeing you maybe on Punk's Pit on Friday. I'll have to see about my unfiltered stream. I need to get one in this week, so we'll see what's going on. But yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging with us for a couple hours. We'll see you again next week and before the holidays. Till then, if we don't see you, have a great Christmas and a great New Year's. And if we see you next week, can't wait. Y'all have a good night.